Welcome to a new Daily Top Askreddit video. Today's topic:
what job pays surprisingly well but nobody talks about? Birdseed salesman. I run a quiet little empire up and down the East Coast, locked into lucrative contracts with publicly funded zoos and national parks. Bold of you to put an actual niche thing you do, lol. The birdseed supply business is not for the faint of heart. Trust me when I say emus are bigger holes than anyone on Reddit ever could be. Wastewater treatment operators. Most people never think about it, but it pays pretty well, has good job security, and usually only requires certifications instead of a 4-year degree. Every city needs them, and there's always demand. My small rural hometown hadn't given their water treatment guy a raise in like 15 years. He puts his foot down and demands a raise cause the town spent a metric fuck ton of money on big SUVs for the small town cops to quite literally sleep in on duty. Town says they don't have the money. He leaves and gets, supposedly, a 2 times raise from his prior salary. Town has boil orders every 3 months. Parents say they refuse to drink the city water now, so I come home to mountains of water bottle cases from Walmart. They see no issues with their new normal, and in my mind all it took was to pay the guy who makes sure your water is safe his fair wage. Properties, I guess. Edit, corrected to not say wastewater. It's the drinking water guy. I thought they were the same. This is pretty standard for small towns. My local fire department was using 15 to 20-year-old ambulances, but the police department got a new Explorer every year. Elevator technician. Quiet job, very solid pay. I've heard it has its ups and downs. It's just near impossible to break into the field. Union. Widely considered the absolute hardest to get into. If I remember correctly, apprenticeships only open up every 2 years and you apply and basically can get assigned anywhere in the country to do your apprenticeship, sort of like how med students get assigned their residency. Edit, I'd like to defend my comment a little cause a couple people have said the part of about needing to move or getting assigned anywhere in the country is untrue. I'll use myself as a hypothetical example. I live in South Carolina, but my local union does not have any recruitment windows open. This is information that is easily found out online. So if I wanted to get into this profession, the closest union with an open window is in Atlanta, opening in spring 2027. So while yes, there are local unions you can do your apprenticeship, it's a small chance you get into the field anyways, and it's even smaller chance you get one close to you. I can't just head over to Greenville or Charleston and apply. Most likely you will be moving somewhere in the country because those are the ones that happen to accepting applicants, and you want to take anything that's hiring. I've tried starting a conversation with random elevator techs about getting into the field. None of them really had a lot to say about it. Maybe I smell bad and they just wanted me to leave them alone. High school history teacher. Just kidding, I'm broke as fuck. Exactly what a rich history teacher would say to gatekeep. My husband is an airplane mechanic. He has had multiple people assume that because he works a blue-collar job, he must be making minimum wage or just above. A friend of ours was starting a business and offered my husband a job. He told the friend what his wage would need to be to make it worth changing. Friend never brought it up again after that. Assuming the guy that keeps planes in the sky makes min wage is hilarious actually. Considering how much folks like EMTs make is unfortunately not that wild an assumption. Edit, glad so many people are ignoring my point and downplaying EMT responsibilities, but focusing on EMT pay specifically is it my point, though you obviously should earn more doing that than flipping burgers. My point was that there are plenty of jobs in the USA you would expect to make more money, but they don't pay a living wage. I'm sorry, but as a tradesman, anyone assuming someone working a trade is making minimum wage is an idiot. I'm reading a lot of jobs that are pretty well known as having decent pay, lol. First time on Reddit. These kind of questions are asked on repeat with 95% of the same answers every time. And same reply jokes. IDK, first time I'm hearing about birdseed salesman. Merchant mariner, specifically USA, licensed in deep sea for the highest paying jobs. Made $120K a year working for 6 months as a third assistant engineer back in 2018, was making $189K for 6 months work as a first assistant engineer last year. Came ashore for personal reasons, but it was an awesome job. Edit, going to plug my union's program, AMO, American Maritime Officers, Star Center Tech Program. It takes 2 years, you get a third assistant engineer diesel license, what I started with, at no financial cost to you. You do have to commit to being a union member for a certain amount of time, I believe 5 years. You need to be a US citizen. The application period ends June 1st. What does your job entail? What certs, degrees are needed? I was an engineer. I operated and maintained all the machinery on board a ship. Main engine, diesel generators, pumps, air compressors, electrical distribution, lighting, HVAC and refrigeration, etc. There's also mates. They drive the ship and handle cargo and ballast. Same pay rates as engineers. You don't need a degree but lots of certs. It's really a bit much to go over in a Reddit comment. 4-year maritime academy is fastest way to the big bucks though. Merchant Marine has tons of posts about it. ASAPKEV is talking about being a mate or an engineer, but you can also be a mariner doing other work. If you are a US citizen that can get a security clearance, Military Sealift Command is always looking for mariners to man their ships, doing jobs they will train you for. They run the auxiliary ships of the US Navy, like oilers, cargo ships, salvage ships, the hospital ships, etc. Technical sales, usually engineers that can explain in detail how a system or machine will work. Includes the C-suite crowd, usually $250,000 to $500,000 per year plus stock options. You never hear about these types of jobs as the companies find you. Very tight. Yeah, these guys are extremely valuable because most engineers hate sales and most salespeople don't know engineering. A lot of engineers also have a hard time being patient with non-technical audiences and will say things like, let me put this in terms that even you can understand. Quote, I did this for a living, engineering in sales for a tech company. Paid very well in commissions. The actual account managers made even more, but they had number on their head, and if they missed more than a couple quarters in a row they were gone. Engineers got more slack, but you had to keep your certs up. Dude, a tech salesman is only as good as his last quarter. A pre-sales, sales engineer, advisory support or whatever the hell the title is will outlast several tech sale critters in most regimes. Source, 20 years in a tech product company on the product side. Knew easily 30 highly paid sales critters and maybe 6 good sales engineers. Do the math. Septic tank technicians. Nobody wants to deal with other people's literal crap, but those guys can pull in 6 figures easily. It's gross, it's smelly, but the bank account is sparkling clean. That's the smell of money. Told by an old plumber who had no qualms about driving out to unblock an apartment building at 2 a.m. in a basement knee-deep with sewage. $700 an hour for emergency work in the city, he said. Plumber once told my parents, your shit is my bread and butter. It's referred as the ick factor. Gross jobs pay a premium for dealing with the nastiness. I mean, the worse the job is, the more you have to pay people to take it. It isn't surprising. If someone's job is cleaning radioactive pools or fixing machines underwater, you can bet that job has a fantastic salary because there's no way anyone would pick that over an office job for the same salary. I was an accountant and had a client who switched from a normal paying job to an import-exporter of very small toys and hit $600K plus after that. I think she basically third-partied everything, so she was more of a middleman. I work in higher education and had a coworker quit after COVID because they were making so much money drop shipping. I still don't get it. They were just selling shit like water bottles and notebooks. Exploitation of cheap labor overseas has been the strategy of the rich for generations. They probably got walloped by the de minimis exception removal, though. Some of you all need to learn what, surprisingly well, means. It is not surprising that a niche high-skilled occupation would pay well. Right, PPL are saying things like airplane mechanic and technical sales, as if those weren't obviously high-paying. Question mark. Reddit contributor. I'm on my way to my first million, although I have $999,998 to go. You made $2 on Reddit. You guys are getting paid. I made $5.15 so far, after 5 years. Home, pet sitting for the wealthy. Surprisingly high fees plus free housing and usually full access to freezers filled with higher-end vittles. Plus if you have a WFH job, you can usually keep doing that too. Do they specifically give you permission to go into the freezer or do you just help yourself? Mostly wondering because I've had pet sitters before and it never once occurred to me to say, don't touch my fridge. Granted, no one would walk into our house and think we were wealthy. I've had a bunch of different pet sitters and only one has eaten my food. I usually specifically mention to use whatever pots, pans they need and tell them where the coffee, sparkling water is. I think if you specifically tell them, help yourself to coffee and sparkling water, the implication is clear that that's the only thing you should help yourself to. Not me but a relative. They specifically told her to help herself to food, especially anything fresh as it would spoil while they were gone. They went on vacation with their full-time cook and cleaner, nanny. The freezer was very well stocked, particularly with custom-prepared dog meals. Power engineers, operating boilers. Like 30% to 40% of qualified power engineers are set to retire in the next 5 years, so companies are desperately looking to hire. My husband did a 1-year college program and got 5 job offers when he graduated and passed his TSSA exam. His starting salary was $100,000 CAD. Edit, his pay was actually $90K when he started working, but made over $100K with overtime. He worked for a large-scale paper mill in northern Ontario at the time. I'm a house cat with free housing, food, and body massages. My owner leaves out his bong too, and when I blaze I get so high I can understand English for about 30 seconds. Meow 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 meow. Garbage collectors UK. Same in the United States for states with unions. My cousin makes 6 figures, is 2 years away from retirement, he's 52, and will have a lifetime pension. I know a guy who went into law enforcement right out of high school. I don't remember exactly what he did at the station before he was old enough to become an officer, but I know he worked there. Became an officer right at 21 and got a campus officer job at a nice technical college here. He worked there for 25 years and is literally about to retire with full benefits at the ripe age of 46.